Alright, today I'll be guiding you guys through VV Ultimatum as an Arrancar on release. If you don't know what VV Ultimatum is, it's an open world RPG Bleach inspired game with some pretty good PvE and PvP. And this game releases tomorrow by the time I'm dropping this video. I'm not really sure what time it is, but it is tomorrow. This guide should get you guys ready for making the right PvP builds because a lot of people will mess up with that and some late game things people won't know about. Also, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video. I'm very close to hitting 2,000 subscribers, so please help me out with that. And if you want a guide for Soul Reapers and Quincy's, they should be posted too, so check that out. Anyways, let's hop in game. Alright, before hopping in game, you're going to want to check out the VV builder. Make sure you use this builder because if you don't, there's a very high chance you mess up your build and you're going to have to end up resetting your build or making a whole new slot, which costs 900 Robux or an item you need to craft, which will require some pretty rare items. So do that before hopping in game tomorrow, alright? And as an Arrancar, I don't know why they did this, but you have to get 82 keto just for hero, bro. So if I want to go a certain build, but I wanted hero, you would have to get Bala, Zero, keto node, and then hero, which is 82 skill points before you could put in your other 318 into something else. Personally, I wouldn't go hero because of the 82 keto points. I don't know why they did that. It's pretty weird, but if you want to go hero, that's what you gotta do. Once you hop in game and complete the tutorial, you fight an optional boss, which I do suggest fighting it because one, it gives XP and some loot after, which is pretty good, and then two, because it's good starter experience on how to play the game properly. You're gonna want to learn how to parry and dodge early so you don't have to worry about it later. But after you beat the tutorial, here's when you get to choose your race. Since you're watching this video, you're obviously picking Hollow, and if you're not, or gonna make a new slot with other races, check out these videos for the guides on Shinigamis and Quincy's, as I've made a guide for every single race in this game. Anyways, now that you picked Hollow, this is where you get to customize your character. First, we have clans. Clans aren't that important in this game. They only give like a very small boost, and the legendaries aren't all that, but it'll add on to your build. Next, we got Hollow types. Each Hollow type has different stats, with the lizard being quick and agile with no defense, centipede being very quick with little damage and defense, turtle being slower and has high defense, and the gorilla being decent at everything. Honestly, I would just pick whatever fits your playstyle. It won't matter too much in the long run. Now we have innate stats. Innate stats are similar to depoking, where you choose a stat to positively boost and another to negatively decrease. Personally, I go with less maximum posture and more melee posture damage with increased stat scaling, but I'm not gonna choose for you. Pick what you think would be good and what suits you. Once you spawn in as a Hollow, and you'll have a little fairy guiding you about the basics in the game. Once you're done with that, you have to do quests until you're level 7. If you don't know where the quests are, press C. They're pretty easy to do, and if you run out of quests in the area, press U. There should be blue markers around each location to tell you where the quests are at. Once you do enough quests and reach level 7, you'll turn into a Menos Grande. As a Menos, you can't do any missions in Lost Noches or Soul Society outskirts because you're way too tall to talk to anybody, so you'll automatically be given a quest where you have to destroy 60 objects and kill 8 Hollows. For the objects, I suggest going to 4 atoms and destroying the trees because there's a lot of objects there. It should take around 2 to 3 minutes. And once you destroy the 60 objects, go to Soul Society outskirts by pressing U with your portal and kill the starter Hollows at the spawn. Once you do that, you'll evolve into an Ajuchus. Ajuchus? I don't even know how to say it, bro. Once you do that, you'll evolve into an Ajuchus. And this is where things start to actually matter for your build. As an Ajuchus, you get the ability to choose certain traits after killing Hollows with a % chance to happen. Certain Hollows have a higher chance to give certain traits, but I won't recommend any traits for you guys to pick since it revolves around what skill tree to use, and everybody's going to be using a different build, whether it's keto, strength, speed, and Hakata. But if I had to say one, it would probably be Exoskeleton, which gives you more defense and posture. Almost every Arrancar has this trait because of its free defensive perks. But if you want to go a Glass Cannon build, that's your decision, bruh. Maybe it could go crazy. Once you get all of your traits, you could either take off your mask or you could keep progressing to a Vasto Lorde, but also means obtaining 70 Hollow XP, which takes a couple of hours, I'm not gonna lie. A normal Hollow gives 0.5 to 1 XP, while bosses give 4 XP per kill. The best method that worked for me was killing the giant Firefly over and over again because it's one of the easiest bosses in the game right now, along with the Menoses from the mission quest because those also count as the bosses. Once you get 70 progression, you'll evolve into a Vasto Lorde and obtain 1 extra trait space, allowing you to be stronger than the normal Arrancar that isn't a Vasto car. Because someone who took off their mask as a Juchas Lordes only has 3 traits, while Vasto Lordes have 4. Now that you're a Vasto Lorde and obtained your 4th trait, you press L to rip off your mask and customize your character. Also, no, there is no point of staying as a Vasto Lorde at the time of release, so don't worry, just make sure you have 4.4 traits and you're good. Once you completed your Vasto card transformation, it's time to normally level up, which means following the blue and yellow quests because you can't start your resurrection progression until you level up to level 25. Also, I haven't said this yet, but a yellow quest means it's a part of the story, purple means it's a daily mission, red means it's a boss fight, and blue is just a regular quest. After you've done quests all the way up to level 25, your racial progression finally starts. In order to get resurrection XP, you have to keep hitting hollows and fight people for XP. Anything you do counts as hollow progression as long as you're physically hitting something or parrying something. If you're just running around the map, you cannot get resurrection XP unless you get a whisper. If a whisper appears on your screen, it's time to meditate, which is the button L. You always have to meditate right after because you get soft like resurrection XP until you meditate first. You all know when to stop meditating when your character either glows or your character falls asleep. Also, another hint is when you run around the map, a Vasto Lorde will sometimes spawn with the audio cue. This means a Vasto Lorde just spawned on you, which will give you extra resurrection XP. Each option gives something different, with the 4th option telling you how close you are into getting your resurrection. Don't worry, if you press any other option, you can still press the first option, which will give you resurrection XP. Also, this is probably something a lot of people know, but if you go into the marsh without a respirator, you're obviously gonna die. So make sure you craft one of those in the crafting table and equip it before going to the marsh. And when you're leveling up, you do not have to fight people in this game if you don't want to, and vice versa. There's an option in the bottom right in the missions area. Turning that off will make it so nobody can invade your missions, and if it's on, anybody can invade your missions. If you want to do PvP though, you have to get an invasion bell, which you can get in the crafting table, and then you can invade anybody with dangerous missions on while they're doing a mission. Once you hit level 40, go to Precipice. If you don't know where that is, press C and make sure you have the King Crocodile skill, which is a boss fight in the marsh. The crocodile boss is pretty hard to solo, so make sure you have a decent amount of people with you, and once you have the King Croc skill, go to the guy defending the gate and give him the Croc skill to continue your progression in the Arctic Plains. One of the resurrection checkpoints that happen when you're halfway through your progression is when your inner hollow asks you, what do you fear the most? This allows you to remove a weapon that you don't like in the weapon pool, which is pretty good for people who have weapons they just don't want to use at all. Personally, I don't mind using any of the weapons, and if you don't either, you could pick I fear nothing, which will remove no weapons. Once you do get enough resurrection XP and meditate again, you'll teleport into your inner world. Once you're in the inner world, you'll obtain a quest called Uncover the Strange World. In order to uncover the strange world, you're gonna have to get more resurrection XP, which means more farming. Yes, even more farming that you already did. And make sure to follow the red eyes every single time you enter your inner world, because that is what will guide you to your hollow. And you have to enter your inner world every time you get a whisper and walk around to create the buildings until it teleports you out, or you'll get soft lock and be grinding for no reason. You stop meditating after getting a whisper and keep farming normally, your progression basically pauses, so make sure every single time you get a whisper, you instantly press L and continue the inner world progression first before going back to grinding. Once you finally grinded enough and all the buildings appear, follow the red eyes until they disappear, and a Vasto Lorde should be around the area ready to fight you in order to unlock your resurrection abilities. For the fight, you'll fight 2 regular hollows and a Menos with no health packs, so make sure you don't take too much damage and hit those parries. It's not too hard if you know how to parry their attacks, and if you don't, you'll learn as you fight. If you end up losing, it's fine, you just gotta meditate again and it'll teleport you back into your inner world. The regular hollows do sometimes have hyper armor when they M1, so watch out for that. Personally, I would just focus on parrying instead of attacking, since the hollow sometimes just randomly overpowers you. And for the Menos, you just gotta make sure you parry the stomps. For the Zero, just block it. Once you finally beat the trial, you'll obtain resurrection and be able to pop your mode. This mode gives a health pack when you use it, and also gives you 2 extra moves depending on what resurrection you roll. If you're curious on what the resurrection percents are, here they are. Los Lobos being a legendary with 1%, the rares being Fairy and Shark at 9%, and the rest, it should be on screen so you can see it for yourself. Some resurrections are more aggressive, with others playing more support or status effects. Once you get your resurrection, you'll also get something called ability points, which you can either put into damage, Ryatsu efficiency, rate, or status duration. Resurrections like Frozen Haze will be missing some of them because it has no damaging moves that do damage. It's a debuff resurrection, not a damaging one. You get 1 ability point every 10% with a maximum of 10, and every time you get a certain level on one of those stats, your ability uniquely changes into something that a normal resurrection wouldn't have. So make sure you put your points into something that actually benefits your resurrection instead of randomly spreading them out. If you guys want me to showcase every resurrection in the game, let me know in the comments below. The game does have pity, so if you spin 100 times, you're guaranteed a legendary resurrection Resurrection. You can get ability rerolls from raids, boss chests, and normal late game chests. Some bosses are definitely worth farming because they also give some pretty good spirit charms. Anyways, that's the entire progression for hollows, and the rest of the stuff in the game is for every race except the skill tree moves like Grand Race Arrow. Actually, I haven't told you guys about ultra skills, so I might as well go over that too. You could obtain ultra skills from bosses like Junichiro or the Dragon, and once you get them, each one has a requirement. For example, Grand Race Arrow's requirement is 360 Zero and being a hollow, and Hado 99 can only be used by Shinigamis with 360 Kido. The system's pretty similar to Type Soul, but some ultra skills are way hard to fit into your build because of the stat requirements, so make sure you plan your build before dumping in random points into your stats. Also, there's statues around the map that do different things. The one in Soul Society gives you a shrine refund, which is right next to the Scorpion Hollows, while Arctic Plains and Hueco Mundo shrines give extra levels on your abilities. I do know that the one in Soul Society outskirts needs some extracts like the Strength extract, Intelligence extract, and I think it was like Agility or something. And for the Arctic Plains and Hueco Mundo, I ain't gonna lie, I do not know where those are because normally you want to use those when you're finally done your build, and I'm not done my build yet, so I'm not sure where those are yet. Now for the combat. When you're in combat and parry a move or M1, then use a crit, a red side called the kanji appears above your head, and that means your opponent cannot block or parry the crit. The only way to counter a kanji is dodging or using your own counter, literally the counter button, which is F, which will cause your character to blade catch the opponent. If you don't use your counter often, you should definitely learn how to keep using it because people constantly use kanjis in PvP. Next is Z-steps. For Z-steps, I'm not gonna lie, this one's a little bit harder, but once you do it, you should be able to constantly do it. You gotta knock back your enemy, then use a skill and click Q very quick. If you don't do it fast enough, it straight up just won't work. So make sure you use a skill first and then press Q quickly. You gotta press it at like the same time, but you gotta use the skill first. Z-stepping in this game is really useful for extending combos and helps you stay on top of people instead of letting them reset. Also, the game does not have 360 parrying, so don't be standing around acting like you could parry somebody when they're behind you when that's just not possible in this game. The angle of the parry is pretty decent, so as long as you look at your enemies, you should be able to parry them. Also, another thing is that when you parry someone, it either glows up as orange or green. Orange means it's just a normal parry, which decreases your posture, and a green parry increases your aura bar and increases your opponent's posture. Getting green parries in this game is really good for your aura bar and your posture, so if you want to constantly get posture breaks on your enemies, make sure you get those green parries. Also, last thing I forgot to include that's really important is spirit charms. If you have too much spirit charms, it'll go over the limit you're allowed to have, and it'll start decreasing your HP for each extra one you have. So unless you think having that extra spirit charm is going to compensate for that HP loss, don't go over 4. You can also merge spirit charms in Hueco Mundo. I'm not sure where it is. It's more of a late game thing, but once more people learn about spirit charms, there's definitely going to be some broken tier 4 spirit charms, so I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, I think that's it for the basics and progression for hollows. Please subscribe and like if this video helped you out because it'll help me out. If I missed anything or you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll probably respond. If you guys end up enjoying this video, I'll make some more videos on VV, and if you end up making another slot, make sure to check out the other guides, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Peace.